Welcome to Keeping Score. I'm Rick Horrow. Each week we bring you insights from the playmakers, deal makers, and rule makers in the world of sports. I'll give you my take on some of the items of the week using my 30 years of experience doing deals for teams, leagues, and players in the $750 billion business of sports. Plus, we'll talk with a central figure in the sports world. The views expressed in this podcast are my own and do not represent the views of Reuters. Let's get started. Another week, another golfer pulling out of a major competition. This time, though, it has nothing to do with the Olympics or the Zika virus. GolfChannel.com reports that Tiger Woods will not play in the PGA Championship later this month. In fact, he won't play in any professional events for the rest of the season. Woods continues his lengthy recovery from back surgeries. He competed at the Wyndham Championship last August, where he finished in 10th place. You might say last year's been good for the golf business, though. Jason Day, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, and Dustin Johnson, new superstars deflecting concern about the Tigerization of golf. Meanwhile, at the Olympics, the controversy moving from Zika to doping. The International Olympic Committee exploring legal options for banning Russia from the Games. An independent report detailed a systematic state-run doping program in the country. Bans have already been imposed on Russia's track and field athletes and weightlifters. I met with IOC President Thomas Bach last summer, and he was intensely committed to a zero-tolerance policy. We'll see. And with or without the Russians, NBC believes it'll turn a profit broadcasting the Rio Games, according to Sports Business Journal. The network closing in on selling $1.2 billion worth of ads. It broke even on the 2012 Summer Olympics in London and lost money on the 2010 Winter Olympics in Vancouver. NBC Universal CEO Steve Burke says the company's way ahead of where it was at this point leading up to the London Games. Zika, impeachment, delays, dirty water, they may impact Brazil, but probably not television or ad sales. Now cricket comes to the U.S. The Caribbean Premier League plays in Florida in July. I talked to Peter Breen, head of communication.
Cricket is immensely popular all over the world and becoming increasingly popular in the United States. And there are certain business efforts to try to change all that and increase its awareness and structure. Peter Breen, Vice President of Public Relations and Communications, I guess it's Director of the Caribbean Premier Cricket League. Hopefully I didn't butcher the title. I didn't butcher the name. The guy's calling live from Trinidad. Peter, how are you?
Great, thanks. It's the Hero Caribbean Premier League, and you can call me whatever you want. That's fine.
Give us the overall business structure of the league and the events and what people should expect.
Yeah, well, the Hero Caribbean Premier League, we're coming into the fourth year, and it starts on the 29th of June to the 7th of August. So with this year, we're playing 6 matches in Lauderhill in Central Broward Stadium in Florida, which is obviously a massive departure for the game of cricket globally, as well as for the Caribbean Premier League. So we're very, very proud of that. There's a lot of work that's been going on for the last number of months since we got approval from the International Cricket Council, who are the world governing body. So I suppose to give you a little bit of a background on cricket for viewers who are maybe not as familiar, it's the second largest in terms of participation and viewership. It's the second largest sport in the world. Last year at the ICC Cricket World Cup in Australia and New Zealand, the India-Pakistan game had 1.6 billion people watching it globally. Now, obviously, a massive audience coming out of India and Pakistan itself, but globally as well. So it's a massive league in the context of it's a massive sport in the context of overall global sport. And I suppose for the Caribbean Premier League itself, it's been going from strength to strength in recent years. The West Indies, who are the current world 2020 champions, that's the format that the game is played. It's roughly over 3.5 hours. Matches are played during the day and at night. And West Indies are the current World T20 champions. They won that title in India back in March. In addition to that, the women's team also won the women's version at the same tournament. And back in January, the under-19s won their Cricket World Cup in Bangladesh. So it's been a massive high for the last 6 months with the West Indies. And I suppose from a CPL perspective, we're extremely proud of the efforts of the team. we're very, very excited and geared up for this new departure of moving to America, because, look, there's a massive audience of not just subcontinent but Afro-Caribbean markets from UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and right around the world, who are people who are second, third, fourth generation who've set up shop in America and now call it home, and I think have been probably starved of meaningful professional cricket. This is the first time that meaningful professional cricket league is going to be played in America, and you know, with global TV viewership last year of CPL of over 90 million globally. In addition to that, we'd over 300,000 spectators across our 6 islands as it was last year, and we've now got the 7th, as I mentioned, in Florida. And so it's onwards and upwards, and you know, we're confident that we'll bring the biggest and best party in sport, as the greatest party in sport as we're known, to America. It's something that will provide a unique sporting occasion, I think, for fans of sport, for fans of cricket, and just to engage, to bring that sense of Caribbean culture and fun and outstanding top quality cricket. Most importantly, we've got some of the best stars in the world playing from right around the world, from A.B. de Villiers in South Africa to Brendan McCullum in New Zealand and Kumar Sangakkara from Sri Lanka, and then Shane Watson from Australia, and these are all outstanding internationally recognised stars of cricket.
As an American, I infrequently get to ask a question from the perspective of, let's call it, an emerging nation in this context. Clearly, India, Pakistan, Australia, New Zealand, around the world, there are tremendous rivalries. How do you best build corporate television and fan support for an emerging audience, in this case, America?
Yeah, well, look, it's not just a case of you go in, you open the keys to the door, and you turn on the lights, and you expect people to come. It's not like that Kevin Costner film, Field of Dreams. You know, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But as I mentioned, there's a massive captive audience who are already engaged in cricket. As I said, last year there was a Masters Championship of players and legends of yesteryear who played around Houston, LA, and New York. But this is being played in a purpose-built, meaningful context as well. This is the last round of matches before the final starts, so there'll be valuable points up for grabs, and all 6 teams are going to be playing. So, you know, we've been engaging across the American audience. We know there's a massive database. We're working very closely with the likes of the International Cricket Council, who would have given approval to the CPL to play matches in America. And globally, the ICC would also view America as the next possible land of opportunity for the growth of the game. Because of obviously the size of the population, because of the professional, outstanding manner in which they market and develop and grow sports, and because of the massive passionate culture there is for Americans to follow an entertaining sport. And I suppose in the context of what we're trying to achieve, it's not just about the cricket on the field, it's about the event around it. So as I mentioned, it's the biggest party in sport, it's entertainment, it's that Caribbean flavour, it's everything that you could possibly imagine about Caribbean culture. It's about integrating that into something that's going to be such a memorable 3.5 hours. We're playing matches on a Thursday night, a Friday night, and then double headers on a Saturday and Sunday. So there's going to be something for everyone. It's the kind of thing you can bring your kids to, you could bring your wife or girlfriend to, you could bring you could go with your parents, or you could go with your friends after a work night. It's the perfect purpose-built event for something that's fast-paced. The basic principles to baseball are similar in that you're trying to hit the ball as far as you can out of the ground, and there's lots of action. You have to keep your eye on the game. There's lots of things happening all the time. You know, you've got fast bowlers, you've got batsmen trying to murder the ball, and you've got fielders who are throwing their bodies on the line to make sure that they don't concede any runs. So in that context, it's very exciting. And also, we worked very hard to integrate the next generation of American players as well. We see that as very important. So we've got 3 Americans and 3 Canadians from across the ICC Americas who would have had to qualify and go through trials to qualify in each of the franchises. So actually from South Florida, there's a guy called Stephen Taylor, who's a USA international, who's played 58 times, and this is his 2nd year now. He was involved with Barbados Tridents last year, and he's involved again this year. And it's wonderful to think that we're not just coming in for a couple of weeks of the year like the circus, and then we'll disappear, and then hopefully next year we'll be back. It's about putting in proper structures in place, and it's about working closely, as you mentioned, with the local stakeholders. We've been very fortunate around Broward County and Lauderhill, and the Mayor's office have been, really supportive, and we're working very closely with the local governing bodies to make sure that this is an event that people will remember, and crucially that they will want back time and time again.
If you had a choice for the American audience, or let's say any startup audience and a well-established league, but startup in a certain context, which I think is here, would you want a prolific TV deal? Would you want the major sponsors, or would you want the fan support? I know you could say it's simultaneous, but what of those is most important to you?
Well, look, it's vital that we get full houses at these games in Central Broward Stadium. What we've seen already is that there's been a massive take-up from New York and Florida particularly, as well as people flying from the Caribbean. But we know there's massive pockets of subcontinent communities, Afro-Caribbean, across to Houston, over to LA and beyond, and right around the eastern, right down the eastern seaboard. So we want fans at the games. We think that it's the kind of thing, because it's positioned and pitched at a very competitive rate, to be honest. And also, so when you mentioned in terms of TV deals, of course, we want more and more people looking, more and more people engaged in the sport. And then in terms of the corporate sponsorship, you would hope that, given the wide array of sponsors that are there, that they will be enticed to become engaged, that they will see probably this is a niche that maybe where there's huge opportunity for it, because as I mentioned, we've seen a massive growth up to 90 million on the global viewership last year. And a huge proportion of that came from India. 2 of our teams are owned by Indian owners who actually own teams from the Indian Premier League. Indian Premier League, to give you context, is probably the biggest franchise league in the world, because, as we mentioned, the size of the population, but also there's massive money involved, and there's it's positioned around April, May, and and we would see ourselves up at the very top table of that, alongside maybe the Big Bash League, which is in Australia, around Christmas time. So we're very proud of that, and we see it as a process that's building every year. The tournament is building, it's growing. There's more and more fans, there's more and more companies who want to become involved, and it's onwards and upwards in that regard. And as I said, the next logical step, I think, is this moving to America. And we want it to succeed, and we're confident that it will. And who knows then? We've just got approval for this year, and let's see how that progresses, and let's hope that for many years to come, people in America, in mainland America, will have the opportunity to get to these games and to see outstanding flavour of Caribbean culture and cricket.
Final question, Peter Breen. What does the business of cricket internationally look like 10 years from now?
10 years now, it's a good question. Certainly digital is going to play a massive role and continue to. We have a massive Facebook following. We've over 1.2 million followers on Facebook. Our Instagram and Twitter feeds are growing all the time. And what we're trying to do through the likes of our app, the CPL T20 app, is we're trying to make sure that we're constantly engaging, not just with people this side of the world, but right around the world as well. So we're providing engaging content. We're looking for good, stimulating, fun content from our players and coaches when they get involved. They get that this is, it's the biggest party in sport. On the field, it's competitive, but off the field, it's very much something that it's a real privilege, I think, for players to play in this. And I'm not just saying it because I work for CPL, but I think if you were to ask some of the top players in the world, it's something they want to be part of. It's a massive bucket list tick in their careers, and many of them keep on coming back for more. And when we had the draft in February, there was a lot of disappointed players who didn't make the cut on this occasion. So in 10 years' time, we would hope that we've got a thriving, vibrant team in America, that the sport is engaging the American public and global public, and we hopefully see that as we dovetail together. In addition to that, the media coverage and the corporate sponsorship will be not just the case of companies will invest and then and disappear. We want to engage when we try to engage with all of our partners, and that's right across media partnerships to corporate partnerships, to make sure that they're getting the very best out of the deal, because it is a unique product. And it's something that, time and time again, we've just announced a massive new deal with Hero Motorcore, based out of India, who are the title sponsors. And that's a huge lift to have a company of that stature involved in our organisation. Again, that was an extension of the deal. And there's many other deals with global firms who want to be a part of this. And I think that's a massive vote of confidence before a ball is even bowled. And so in 10 years' time, making sure that we're properly engaging with fans, making sure that we're keeping up with social and digital media trends, making sure that that the quality of player continues to be enhanced, that we're developing West Indies cricket, because that's a massive remit that we're very proud of, that we're providing opportunities for local players to really pronounce themselves on the world stage, and also that we're attractive to either foreign investors or overseas players to want to come and be a part of this, because as I said, there's nothing like it, and I think fans who get down to Central Broward this 28th to the 31st of July will savour something really, really special, and something that they probably have never seen in American sports before.
All eyes of the international cricket world on Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, end of July, beginning of August, your Premier Caribbean Cricket League. Peter Breen, thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this edition of Keeping Score. I'm Rick Horrow. The producer of the show, Alex Cohen. Associate producer, Bethel Habte. Assistance provided by Tanner Simpkins and Carlos Waddick. And the executive editor of Reuters Digital, Dan Colarusso.